Hey, good morning, my people. What's up? Hope and trust that all is good and that you would have had a good night's rest. I have. Today is what? Wednesday? Today is, yes, Wednesday, the 18th day of March, 2026. And the time right now is 19 minutes after the 6 a.m. hour. And as you see, I'm using a picture from a recording that I did in January of this year. And the backdrop I had used for that recording was, as you will see there, the told story is not the whole story. That was the backdrop that I used there. And I did that recording on Sunday, the 25th day of January 2026. The recording is up on my Facebook pages and also up on my YouTube channel. So persons who might want to go and see it, it is there on YouTube. Real Talk also on Facebook, Audley Joseph on Facebook. So as I was saying, I did that recording on Sunday, the 25th day of January 2026. The told story is not the whole story. Now, I did this video back then, and before I go there, I keep saying here and sharing, and it's important to listen. It's very important to listen. My dad taught me that some years ago, and he said, Dave, you hear something today, store it. You'll hear something a week, 2 weeks, a year, you're able to make the connection. And I encourage persons to listen. When you hear people speak, listen. Don't be quick to talk, but listen. In the video that I did back on Sunday, the 25th day of January 2026, what we know, March. So that's about what? Going to 2 months, 2 months ago. I did this video because I had heard a radio personality speaking about some polling numbers in relation to Jamal Pringle. And I was saying to persons, don't give us half of the information. Give us the whole thing. Let us know in this poll that you would have seen, I would have hoped, or would have heard. Let us know how it was that Harold Lovell polled. And not only Harold Lovell, you're looking at the poll with, maybe might have been Pringle, Lovell, Gaston in relation to leadership. And let us know what the whole thing. Don't just tell us what you want to tell us. Don't just tell us about Pringle. Tell us, give us the whole thing. So that was the angle that I was coming from on that recording from Sunday, the 25th of January, 2026. It was my understanding around then that persons in the business community had financed some polls within the UPP, maybe not within the UPP as the party, but persons in the UPP. I was made to understand that. I was also made to understand that the pollster who conducted the poll lives in or comes from the St. Mary's North constituency. That I'm on, right? Yes, St. Mary's North constituency. That's what I was told. Um, it was even my understanding around the time that the Labour Party might have shared some details from polls that they would have done with persons within the UPP. I was told that also. All right. Well, between the 25th of January 2026 and today, the 18th of March 2026, I have not heard the said radio personality indicate to the listening public, Antigua and Barbuda, and the world of field. I have not heard that radio personality indicate to us how much Harold Lovell or what Harold Lovell had polled in the poll that he referred to. And I would have heard him on radio numerous times since then. I think he might be on today, so I'll listen again and I'll see if I hear. But we have not heard that information. Have not been forthcoming. I have not heard that. If anybody else out there have heard it, please share with me. Share the information with me in the comments. I would like to know, but I have not heard. So let's fast forward now to Monday. Monday the gone. Monday the 16th of March. That's the by-election night up in the St. Philip's North constituency. And I was listening to the coverage on ABS TV. And the panelist, Bruford, was the moderator. There was a representative there for Labour Party. Bertrand was there. I think he might have been there in his own persona, being a person who tracked, these election results. There was another gentleman. It was first said he was representing the UPP, but then it was corrected to say that he was speaking on behalf of Alex and himself. And there was also Mr. Peter Wickham. He too is a pollster, as we know, coming out of Barbados, I think. And I guess they invited him as, that's what he does, something similar to Bertram. Those were the panelists for it. And I was listening, I was watching basketball and listening at the same time, And I heard something and it came back to me last night. And I went back this morning to get a readout. I have a new tool here on my computer. I like it. To get a readout of what exactly was said. And this is Peter Wickham. And I'm not gonna say what section of the video. People must go do their work. The journalists and them must go and do their work. Top do their work for you. When I look, this is Peter Wickham, right? When I look at the poll from the previous election, from this actual constituency, the preferred leader or leadership approval numbers were pretty disastrous for Pringle. Gaston Brown was 54% and Jamal Pringle was 15%. And of course, Harold Lovell Comrade Lovell is in there as well, around 5%. When he said Comrade Lovell, there was a chuckle from the Labour Party representative on the panel. So let me just read over the part again. Gaston Brown was 54% and Jamal Pringle was 15%, 1-5. And of course, Harold Lovell Comrade Lovell is in there as well, around 5%. Sorry. And then Burford asked him, when he said that, Burford then asked him, sorry, this was from which poll? And he replied, this is the one that we did last week. Last week, right in this constituency. So I'm saying, yeah, you're asking in the constituency how people feel about leadership, because it's always an indicator. And the numbers for Prime Minister Brown are really quite impressive. The numbers for Jamal Pringle are concerning. Oh, that's the 15%, right? The numbers for Jamal Pringle are concerning. You're not even getting to the 20% stage. And this is an alternative leader, supposedly. This tells me a lot about what is happening in terms of the mood of that constituency and perhaps the mood of the entire country. And I think that one of the keys to all of this tonight is the fact that people are less excited about the leadership potential of Comrade Pringle than they would have been with Comrade Lovell. Let me continue. And that is perhaps a question that the UPP has to answer. Why are members defected? Why have members defected to the ABLP? Why are members not running again? And why is it that in the constituency, you are not even finding a quarter of the people who were polled saying that they think that the preferred leader would be Jamal Pringle? And I'll stop at that point. There's more, but I'll stop at that point. I smiled to myself. Because I don't play much sports now. I don't play much sports now. But there are strategies that you can employ in playing sports when you want to manipulate an outcome. Now remember, the numbers that Peter Wickham gave, 54%, it was 54%, give me a second there, where's the percent? Yes, Gaston Brown was 54%, Jamal Pringle was 15%, and of course Comrade Lovell is in there as well, 5%. Now, unless when they do polling, the lower the number is, the stronger the position you're in. Unless that's the case, that's something can't count. So, I help me out here. Unless the number is, the smaller you get, is the more, it favors you more. How the hell is the Labour Party and its people talking about 15%? Let's assume that that's correct. 15%. But they're not talking about the 5%. They're saying that they're trying to imply that the 5% should be the leader. That makes sense to you? Or are they trying to manufacture a situation where they believe they'll be in a better position? Which one? What do you think? Now, let me go back to sports. If you have 5 people, talking about basketball, you have 5 people on the court, precise. And I have done my scouting of the other side, and I know that person can shoot. I know he can shoot. And I know that this one over here is a deadly shooter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hedge my defense to the deadly shooter and leave the shooter who can shoot open. He can shoot for the whole night. Because the averages is going to tell me that I would have scouted on him, they can shoot. So if he make 1 of 15, we can live with that. If he's making 13 or 15, then we have a problem. That's an enigma for the night. But from a strategic standpoint, that's what I'm doing. So I'm saying to myself, when I heard him and I went back and I got the readout, my mind ran back to what I have on my backdrop, that discussion, that recording that I did, right? And that's why I was asking for all the numbers. Give us all the numbers. Okay, you say Pringle average a poll 15. What the rest be? Because I would want to believe that if Gaston is polling 54%, as he said here, and Lovell was polling 45%, and Pringle was polling 15%, we can understand the rationale. But you expect me to believe, if the numbers are correct, that at 5% compared to 15%, the 5% is a better representation than the 15%? That's what people want me to believe. But see, I keep saying y'all don't listen. Y'all talk plenty. This information was given just Monday gone there. I'm not tell I whip on the recording the B, I must go do our work. One more thing I want to say before I go. There are persons I hear on the airwaves talking the same thing, that they believe they're of the opinion that Harold Lovell would be a better leader than Jamal Pringle. And everybody have a right to their opinion. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is when people manipulate things. I have a problem with that. So if you know you are, and I'm speaking to the person I hear, if you know that you are managing the web page, Facebook page for a particular candidate, right? Which would tend to suggest that there's a partiality. I think that all of these kind of things, all of these kind of information should be made known to the public. You know what I mean? Should be made known to the public. If I am sitting in the jury pool and I'm called to carry out my civic duty, and when I look in the box, I see a friend of mine who I used to play basketball with. It is incumbent on me to say to the judge, Judge, I know that person, and I'm not too sure, based on the relationship that we would have had, that I can give a balance or, a balanced judgment based on that. I might be a little impartial because of what the case is. And the court decides what it wants to do. So when I hear people talking about this person would be a better leader than that person, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. But you should let the public know, hey, this is how I am affiliated with this person who I'm talking about, who I believe would be the better leader, because it would put people in a better position to decide to themselves whether they want to take what you're saying as being credible or not. Because when I was told that you were doing certain things for a particular person that you're advocating for, I was like, where have decency gone to in this country? Until we come together again, my people, have a nice day. Be safe today. Bless up yourself.